We've got Joe.
By the way, speaking of, have we let Joe on yet?
No, I haven't let him on yet.
Since we were talking Patriots a little bit, I have to commend Tom Brady.
Oh.
I was telling this story, and I can't wait to root for him in Tampa, one of my favorite cities in the Union. Unbelievable place full of unbelievable people. But the
colors are great, too. I mean,
great colors, great town, great strip clubs. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Tampa Bay. But the story, I was telling this story last night, and I literally teared up telling it. The story of him in the, what year would have been? 17? AFC Championship when they played the Jaguars. They went on to lose to the Eagles.
Yes. 17.
That was the Bortles one?
That was Bortles. That was the best defense in the AFC. They're fucking Miles Jack. They were a fucking monster.
That was 2017 season, 2018 Super Bowl.
Okay, so I think the game might have still been in 17. No, the game would have been in 18. That's January. Whatever. The point is that it was that Wednesday. So this is a new book called The Dynasty, I believe, and it's a lot of the untold stories of the Patriots dynasty. And there was an excerpt today or yesterday released from this situation, and it was on Wednesday when there was he handed the ball off in practice to Rex Burkhead.
Oh, no.
Got his thumb jammed,
Mm-hmm.
and then everyone was, like, panicking for, like, 4 days, and the Patriots would just mum on everything. So here's what happened. So
I mean, that was a really weird, like, how, like, it was a huge deal right away, and then no one ever found out actually what happened.
No, until today.
Is the book out or just the...
I think it's just an excerpt, like a promotional excerpt.
Okay. I mean, you haven't told me this yet.
Okay, so what happened was...
And he's standing up to tell this story.
Brady does the handoff to Burkhead, jams his thumb. It rips so hard that it jams so hard that it completely rips totally open here. Like, it looks like you can see down.
Like the soft part between your finger and your thumb.
Yes, you can see down to the bone.
Ew.
On his throwing hand. And so a Patriot staffer calls, I believe his name is Ben Lieberman. He's the hand surgeon for Patriots, Red Sox, and Celtics. And he's at lunch outside Boston. And the Patriot staffer is in a panic. He's like, Ben, you got to get to Patriot Place right now. Brady's hurt. Something's wrong. So Lieberman goes, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Gets on 24, gets on 95, starts speeding, humming it, knowing if he gets pulled over, he can just tell a police officer, look, I'm a doctor. Brady's hurt. They need me. Gets into Patriot Place. Brady's already taken his x-rays, so he examines the x-rays, goes into the training room. Brady's sitting there with Belichick, another team doctor, and Josh McDaniels. He says, Tom, I don't know how this happened, but somehow, with an injury like this, if a thumb that gets jammed and hyperextended so hard that the skin breaks open, it's always broken. There's always torn ligaments. I don't know how this happened, but that didn't happen with you. You're fine-ish, right? Like, you're not fine. And, like, Brady's, like, tearing up because he thought his career was over. He thought he was never, because, again, it's his throwing hand. He thought he was never going to be able to throw again. He goes, we're gonna stitch it up, and we're gonna see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I know he goes, we're gonna X-ray or MRI it tomorrow, but do not do anything. I'm gonna splint it. I'm gonna put it in like a little mini cast. Do not do anything. Don't touch a ball. We are gonna rest it until Sunday, and we're gonna make a game time decision on Sunday. Do not fuck with this, Tom. Brady goes, okay. He gets stitched up, whatever. Lieberman goes to Brady's house the next morning. Brady's in the backyard throwing with Guerrero. He's like, Tom, what are you doing? I told you can't. He's like, Ben, I feel great. Honestly, I think I'm going to be able to play. He's like, you don't understand. If this goes even slightly wrong, like,
you're done.
Your ligaments are torn. Like, it might tear so hard it breaks the bone. Like, you cannot do anything until Sunday. All right, Ben. All right. He goes, he grabs Guerrero, pulls him aside. He goes, Alex, I'm fucking serious about this. Don't let him do anything. Practice the next day, Brady shows up full pads.
Of course he does.
And then they don't let him play. They don't let him participate. Then after practice, Brady goes to the bubble and starts throwing. and Lieberman's losing his mind at this point. He goes, I swear to God, if you do it again, I will not clear you to play on Sunday. I won't let it happen. So Brady keeps it cool. He's got 25 stitches in a cross-cut pattern or whatever the fuck that means to keep it like it's like surgically sewn shut. Game day comes. Brady's out there. He's like, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it. And then with 2 minutes to kick off, he goes into the training room. He says, Ben. He puts his face down on the training table, sticks his hand out. He goes, Ben, you got to cut these stitches out. And he's like, what? He goes, no, I can't. I'm not doing that. He's like, it's messing with the feel of the ball a little bit. I can't have that happen for me. He goes, Tom, the best I can do is I can cut the sutures down a little bit. And he goes, Ben, do what you can. I trust you, but I can't have the feel fucked up. So he cuts them down.
He's just not human.
Insanely small. If things go awry, they have the operating table ready. Because if things go awry, like, it's bad news. Brady sprints out to the field because there's like 3 seconds until kickoff. First drive, 6 for 6, because he's a fucking monster. and then that's the fourth quarter comeback. Down. What were they down? 12 with 10 minutes? No, down 10 with 12 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, two fucking drives, 2 touchdowns to Danny Amendola in the back of the fucking end zone. Patriots go to the Super Bowl. The man is a fucking legend, an absolute legend. Oh, I can't wait to root for him in Tampa Bay.
You are spitting all over yourself. So sad boy season is done now.
And then he went to the Super Bowl, which they lost, but he threw for 505 yards. The only player in NFL history to throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns with 25 stitches in his hand that would have killed anybody else. Oh, he's the best.
I mean, I just feel like I have to let this breathe. Like, I want to run through a fucking wall for you right now. And now I like this. Who wrote this book?
I forget. I will plug the authors.
I mean,
you an entire chapter.
Jared, can you see him spitting all over himself? He's so excited.
I'm watching this just in awe.
What? Please look outside.
The turtle's coming by.
Jared, Frank the Tank just did the slowest walk by the glass. He's coming back.
There he is. Want to give you a second look, kid.
Showstopper.
Okay, it's called The Dynasty by Jeff Benedict.
Okay. I mean, I don't feel like I even need to. I feel like I want you to read the book to me if that's the way that the story.
I want John Feidelberg to have the audio book rights to this, and then he can just inject his own commentary as he's reading.
And he can just like start screaming when it's his commentary. He can start screaming.
Oh, he's the best.
You're sweating right now.
I am sweating.
You're sweating.
It's a good observation.
Oh my God,
You're right.
you are.
I'm sweating. I might be crying.
His forehead is glistening.
Let's go. I like it. Fire up.
I mean, now that's the thing you look forward to. So I actually had this conversation pretty recently. Like, for people who are our age and younger, who obviously Tom Brady is all they've known as Patriots fans, at what point for this season, because I mean, Cam Newton, obviously big name, like, do you say that you would rather see Tampa Bay win than the Patriots?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Never?
I would like to see Tampa lose to the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Okay. But you're rooting for Tom Brady still.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Every game they're not playing the Patriots, I'm absolutely rooting for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, so we do have the author of the book on the line.
No way.
Yes, we do. We have Jeff Benedict on the line, I mean, the fact that we just figured out who wrote the book 15 minutes ago and now he's on the line, I mean, I feel like we're the most special people in the world. What's up, Jeff? Thanks for calling in.
You guys are impressive. I didn't call in. You called me. I'm impressed.
I mean, I didn't know how it went down because we don't know anything. We have producers that make us look way smarter than we actually are. But either way, I appreciate it. I mean, my co-host here sitting smiling ear to ear. It's like he's hearing from Santa Claus right now.
Hello, Mr. Benedict.
Whoever that
How
producer is pretty ingenious.
John, go ahead.
Jeff,
I mean,
I just told the story from the Dynasty. Now, when is the Dynasty out, by the way? I'm sorry?
It's out today.
Out today.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
big day.
I'm going to
Big
get it on
day.
Amazon Prime while we talk.
well, no, because you need to ask him questions, then buy it after the show.
Okay, I'll
Yes.
do it after the show. Jeff, I told the story, the one that was in the New York Post, the excerpt of Brady and the Jaguars game. How did you get all that information? Reveal all your sources, please.
Yes, he needs to know. He needs to know every little detail because he did basically a dramatic reading of the excerpt from your book and then started crying and sweating whenever he realized that Tom Brady actually got to play that game.
Yeah, I think it's not probably a great idea for me to get into all of the sources and how I did that, but
I'd imagine.
I think probably the important part is just it takes a lot of time to build relationships of trust and to go through. This is a long process to do a book like this, and it's years in the making. And then when you get to you actually get into the nuts and bolts of it, and you start putting stories down on paper like this. I mean, this was to me it's the fastest chapter I wrote. There's 44 chapters in this book, and I wrote this chapter in one day. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that most of the chapters I wrote in this book took a long time to write. This one came out really easy and fast, and partly because it's just so much narrative and dialogue and being in the room. But the chance to sort of look at this Brady injury through the eyes of a doctor is really unusual. And so throughout the book, I tried to find characters like Dr. Liebman, and there's a lot of other people like him in the book who've never been interviewed before. And those people a lot of times can be the best storytellers because they're filled with information they've never talked before. And so I interviewed a lot of people like that, in addition to obviously the key characters in the story. But I just went out of my way to try to find people who'd never talked before and who had great stories.
That's an unbelievable way to go about it, because I'm sure, for some people who usually get interviewed for books and things like that, there's stories they've told 1,000 times to 1,000 reporters and writers and things like that. But for something like Dr.
Right.
Liebman, that's a pivotal moment of his life, really, that he's never divulged that information. I'm sure to his inner circle and things like that. But I mean, it's something I've absolutely never heard.
Well, it's crazy that information hasn't come out. That's what we were saying, Jeff, before you came on, is that story is so unbelievable. And the fact that you were able to get it and it's just now coming out is crazy, because people would have eaten that up as soon as they could find out. And we're finding out years later, and it's still equally as shocking because nobody was able to get that story but you.
Well, one of the things that is really interesting about writing biographies this is like a biography of a team, and I'm basically a biographer, so I spend a lot of time on a project like this, and you learn lots of stories like that have never come out, and you just have to contain them. You can't talk about them. I don't share them with my friends. I don't even tell my family about these stories while I'm writing a book, because you really have to protect the privacy and security of the stories. And so another example of a guy he's like Liebman is there's a security guard who worked for the Patriots named Frank Mendez. And there's a chapter where he has a story that's similar to this. It's great drama. He's a guy that's never talked to a reporter in his life. And the reason he's in this book is because on the night of the Patriots-Raiders playoff game, the snow game, the tuck rule game, that game, Brady was, he was in his first year as a starter, and he was on his way to the stadium, and he's late, and it's snowing, and he gets in a massive traffic jam, can't get to the stadium, knows he's going to be late. Belichick drops the hammer on anybody who's late. So what do you do? And he picks up the phone in traffic and calls Frank Mendez, the head of security for the Patriots, former state trooper in Massachusetts, and tells Frank, he's stuck. He can't get to the game. And this is like the moment of a lifetime for a guy like Frank Mendez. It's like, this is the chance to be the hero, to get Brady to the stadium. And he basically says, where are you? And Brady tells him the cross streets. And then he says, what are you driving? And he says, I'm in my yellow Jeep. And basically Mendez says, I'll take it from here. And the next thing you know, he's calling the barracks where he used to work, and they all know him. And he's got the trooper on the other line, and he's telling them what they got to do. And within minutes, there's a state trooper coming towards Brady. The traffic is parting, and here's a guy with his lights going, and he basically motions to Brady, follow me. Brady gets out of traffic, starts following the trooper, and they're making their way to the stadium. And all these people in their cars, they realize what's going on, and they're like yelling and cheering. And other players who were trapped in traffic, they see Brady following the trooper, so they get out and start following Brady. And pretty soon you have a brigade of cars following Brady and a state trooper to the stadium. Everybody makes it on time. And the reason I have that story in the book before that game is because it's a great example. It's like foreshadowing of the kind of leadership skills that Tom Brady would demonstrate in New England for 20 years. He had him when he was a rookie. And Belichick saw it in him really early. And that year when he finally got to play, his teammates started to see it. And that moment where Frank Mendez basically gets him to the stadium, you see Brady. It's like a metaphor. And so that's just another example of finding a guy who's never talked before, who's sitting on a fantastic story that no one's ever heard. and then putting it into the narrative.
You said that was a once in a lifetime moment for Frank Mendez. It was also one for Brady, because let's say Brady's late and Belichick sits him. Brady probably never happens.
No, it's really, you're right. It's a really great moment on many levels. And then it was also the first time that Brady had ever played a game in the snow. And, you'd think he'd play a snow game at Michigan, but he never did. And so this was his first time playing in snow, and he's a California kid. And he walks out onto the field for warm-ups wearing shorts and a T-shirt. And basically, the way I describe it is it really was for him like being a kid on a playground. This was like a dream come true for a California kid to get to play football in the snow. Mm-hmm. And there's another thing that happens that game in the pregame that has never been reported before, but I found footage through NFL Films. I found some audio and video footage of Robert Kraft standing on the sideline in the snow during pregame, and he's got his friend with him, Sandy Weil, who at the time was the CEO of the largest bank in the world. And Sandy Weil was a huge Jets fan, and he used to be a banker for Joe Namath, so he goes that far back. He doesn't like the Patriots, but he's at this game because he's best friends with Robert Kraft, and they're standing there in the snow watching Brady warm up. And, Brady walks off the field, and he's walking towards them. The snow is really driving hard. And basically he comes up to Kraft and makes a prediction that they're going to win the game. And it's on audio. Like, there's audio tape of this. And Kraft looks at him, and he's like, you promise? and Brady, like, guarantees it. And Sandy Weil, the banker.
Oh, no. Oh, no, he cut off for a second. I feel like, are you still there, Jeff? Oh, no. Oh, wait. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Did you
my
gosh.
We lost you at Sandy Weil.
Yes, please. I feel like I just watched a cliffhanger at the end of a season of TV, so please continue.
Well, so Sandy Weil, he was there with the Jets when Joe Namath guaranteed that they were going to beat the Colts in Super Bowl III. So he's been around a quarterback that has the chutzpah to make a prediction like that. And, he saw Brady do it. And then Brady, of course, wins the game. And in the locker room that night after the game, Kraft brings Sandy Weil down to the locker room to meet Brady. And they said hello. They had an exchange. And then Brady disappears into a sea of cameras and lights to be interviewed. And, basically Sandy Weil looks at Kraft, and Kraft said, what do you think? And he says, he's a star. Like, he's got what Namath had. And that's not something you can, give someone. They either have it or they don't. And that kid has it.
I have goosebumps. I wasn't even going to ask you to tell any other stories from the book. This is amazing. I can't imagine how many more are in there.
How long did it take you to write the book? When did you start?
I was actually going to ask you that. You said it's been years, obviously. Was there a particular moment that made you go, it might be coming to an end, time to start working on the book? Or did you just know eventually it was going to end and you might as well be working on it?
Yeah, I only worked on the book for just under 2 years. I thought about it for longer than that, thought that it would be great to do, but I didn't actually start doing it until the summer of 2018. And so it was actually almost exactly 2 years ago from where we are right now that I started. And I spent the first year, I didn't do any writing in the first year. I followed the team through the 18th season, which ended at the Super Bowl in Atlanta. And I thought that would be a terrific ending for the book. And so after the Super Bowl, maybe 2 months later, I actually started writing. And I wrote for about 6 weeks, and then summer came, and I took a little hiatus to do some more reporting on the book. I went to Israel with the team and did some different things, and then I came back in September of last year, and that's when I really went into writing mode. And I basically wrote every day from Labor Day till early May of this year. And so it was a slog because it's a long book. It's packed with stories, and I've never written that fast before in my life. But I really wanted to get this book out in the fall because of the timing, and thought it was important to get it done now instead of taking another year.
I cannot wait to read stories from the 28-3 game. I bet you have some unbelievable things in there.
You're talking about the game against the Falcons, that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, by the time you get to that, we're kind of sprinting. It's you try to, in books like this where it is long. I think pacing is really important, and so as a writer, you got to really be thoughtful of your reader and not. My son was asking me the other day why the chapters in the beginning of the book are shorter, and I said it's just building up endurance for a reader. In the early, you don't want to start the book with a 30-page chapter. People are tired before they've finished one chapter, and I think you got to build people up to the point where by the time you get to the Falcons Super Bowl, the chapters get longer, but you don't realize it at that point. It doesn't feel like it.
You're just much smarter than us. That's what you're saying. Is you know how to manipulate the readers, and I'm totally buying into it.
It's more like conditioning. I mean, I read a lot of books myself and love to read, and I know how I feel when I'm reading, that you never want to get tired as a reader, like mentally exhausted. You want the reader to have a great experience where it's like watching a movie and it's effortless. That's kind of what I'm going for with a book like this, is that you want it to be an entertaining, uplifting experience, and at times they need to be excited, at times they need to be emotional, but through it all, you got to pace it right. And so anyways.
Well, I can tell you that there are multiple people in this studio right now that will probably be reading this as soon as possible. And I know this is probably I don't know how many kids you have, but this is probably like asking you which one is your favorite kid publicly. But is this the favorite book you've ever written?
I would say it probably is. And the reason I would say that is because it was the hardest one I've ever written. And I guess what I found in my personal experience is that things that are hardest in life tend to bring the richest rewards. And there was nothing easy about this, nothing. And it's the hardest book that I've ever had to work on at every level. The writing, it took more out of me to figure out how to construct it, to, the architecture of the story, the figuring out what to leave in and what to leave out. And just because it's such a big period, we're covering 25 years of history, you don't want to bore people so they feel like they're reading a history book. And so in the end, yes, it probably is my favorite, just because when I got to the end of it, I felt like I had done things in this story that I'd never been able to do, like to write a football book and be able to include Bono and the Edge, Elton John, Bon Jovi, Paul McCartney, to get those guys in the book is fantastic. To be able to have 4 American presidents in the book is fantastic. To have controversies and things like that, it's all there, and I got to basically go wherever I wanted as a writer. You usually don't have that much richness to work from, and in this case, it was like a wealth of riches. So you had to figure out what to leave out. And that made it great.
I mean, we have chills all over our bodies right now. We cannot wait to read it. So it hit the stands today. So the Dynasty is out, and I mean, we're going to buy it on Amazon Prime. We can't buy it fast enough.
Cannot buy it fast
I cannot buy it fast enough. Thank you so much for calling in. And by the way, if you ever I guess we called you, but now that we have each other's numbers, maybe you could call in and tell us some stories every once in a while. Like I think we would totally be okay with it.
After you guys get the book and have a chance to go through it a little bit, I'll come back on and we'll do what you want.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Have a great day.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
I mean, that was incredible.
Woo!
So shout out Jeff Benedict. If you go to jeffbenedict.com, he's actually doing a virtual book launch tonight at 7 p.m. You can buy his book. You get it signed, and you get a link to the live stream. And also on the stream is your former coworker, Michael Holley.
Oh, what a world. Well, I mean, yeah, Michael Holley's written a couple Patriots books in the past. I don't know how this world like comes together like it does every day for us. But what just happened was crazy.
That was awesome. I don't know how someone like, keeps
Shout out Eric. Shout out Eric Fenton.
Shout
Our guy
out
at
Eric.
Sirius.
Shout
That was
out Eric.
unbelievable.
We will say anybody, literally any name, and I'll get an email 2 minutes later. You want me to get him on? I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Well, can you get Justin Bieber on? I've got some things to ask him.
That was
He really might be able to.
Oh,
honestly.
don't tease me, Avery. Don't tease me.
I don't understand how he was talking about how he keeps all those secrets. I would tweet that shit in 2 seconds. I would never be able to write my book. I'd be like, you'll never believe this shit about Brady. Thread 1.
Not even just from a Twitter standpoint, because I would want to tweet it too. Not telling
From
your
his
family,
friends and family.
family,
That's
like not being able to go home to like your significant other and just be like, you will not fucking believe what Tom Brady had to do before this playoff game. I feel like I would. I mean, I can't keep secrets from you, let alone my family. Like that's
I
crazy.
wouldn't keep secrets. I would tell everybody.
Well, that's why
I'd be
he's-
like a homeless guy on the street with it just written on a sign, just so everyone could see it. I'm like, don't want money, just want you to read this real quick.
I mean, I can't wait to read this book.
I know. I'm
can't-
excited.
and also for people
Dude,
that don't know, he also wrote the Tiger Woods book. And if we had him on a little like longer, I would have asked about that. And I'm just what I'm gonna do is find excuses to have this guy on the radio all the time. I have to. Like, imagine being the guy that holds all those secrets. And like today, it's probably just like a weight lifted off his chest. Like, okay, they hit the stands today. It's like when you do something really cool in your career and you're like, oh, and by the way, like everyone's going to be talking about this. Every single Patriots fan, every single football fan that reads this is going to be talking about how cool these stories are. Imagine being that powerful.